ear? The answer is ear first, then apply theory when backed into a corner.
Well, you have to.
Right. You know, I apply theory more figuring out what it is I've done.
Yeah, yes.
You know, so I can provide it for the musicians, because one of the great... Exactly, so I can write something out. I can decide what the chords are, and the first chord in that last tune has a flat 5 and a natural 5 right next to each other, so you know, I had to give it its own name, and you know, I had to, you know, musicians look at that chart and they go, oh my God, what is this you've created? It's really strange, but I studied a lot of the harmony that I really enjoy is coming out of Wayne Shorter and Herbie Hancock, great jazz players from the mid-'60s. And also I grew up with my father blasting early 20th century classical music in the house at unbelievable volumes. I'm sure that comes as a surprise to you. At every waking moment. You know, so Stravinsky and Debussy, Ravel, Weber, and, you know, all these people, these composers, and earlier too, Wagner and Mahler. So extremely dense harmonic stuff. So that does not sound foreign to my ears. So that's where these tunes grow from. You know, the ones like that anyway. Yeah, but you know, the knowledge of, to me, one of the reasons I went to school and one of the reasons I decided to learn more about music was I needed some way of dealing with the stuff that I was hearing in my head, which was beyond my capacity. At a certain point, it got beyond my capacity to cope with the kinds of tunes I was writing. So I couldn't improvise on them, and I couldn't turn them into something that could be played by other human beings. So, not to be overly dramatic about it, but that's, you know, kind of where it was coming from. Yes.
You use those ridiculous stretch voices. Is it more because you can't play chord any other way, or does you like the sound of the chord?
He said my stretch voicings were ridiculous looking. What do you mean by that? I play them because that's, you know, that's probably the only way they can be played. And I hear those kinds of voicings. So I play a lot of inversions. You guys know what I mean by that, meaning the root is not on the bottom of the chord. So sometimes the, you know, I'll have something that will be a little bit, thank you, yeah. Watch this thing start drooping. Sometimes I'll just hear things being in clusters within the chords. So a cluster is when we have a lot of seconds next to one another. So, for example, here's a chord, kind of an F6/9. So we have a third on the bottom, a minor third there, and a second on the top, and a fourth on top. So I could play a similar voicing that would sound like this. But you hear that now I'm missing. So here's the F, the A, and the D, F, A, D. But now I can stick that C in the middle, and that's what gives it that voicing its life. So the contrast between the wide interval, the fourth, and the close. So I play them very deliberately. So this is going major to minor. Here's your third moving down to minor. I play a lot of inversions. Like this is, you guys might know this chord right here. I hate this chord. I hate it. It's a C major 7th, and it's a famous Berkeley chord, right? Berkeley didn't invent it, of course it's been around forever, but it's a C major 7th and drop 2. And that chord sounds, you know, very bland. So if I put that chord into an inversion, you can see that it will take on a completely different life. So if I play this, that's exactly the same chord in inversion, and it sounds beautiful. Every guitar player that plays this chord goes, wow, what a great chord. And as you can see, once again, it's a contrast of intervals. So here we have a very pungent minor second in the middle of the chord, and then fifths on either side. So every chord is a sum total of the intervals that are in it. So this chord, every time I play a chord, that chord could be not only C major 7th, but I could sit around and think about all the other chords it could possibly be as well. And it could be something based on every single note that's in the chord, and it could, conceivably be based on every other note that isn't in the chord as well. So every voicing that you like, this is a little bit of a tangent, but every voicing you like that you come up with when you're playing, take it and figure out how many things it can be. Say, well, if I put this voicing over this note, what is it going to be? Well, how about on this other note, and what is it going to be? Voicings on guitar, you could play the exact same voicing on a piano and it wouldn't have the same quality because you're dealing with the timbral contrast from one string to the next. So things like putting a minor second next to a melody note, the top melody note in the voicing works on guitar, whereas it doesn't work on other instruments because the timbre of the higher, thinner string will bring out that top melody note. So, you could get a lot of information out of a fairly small